Are you tired of the violence yet?
Gunfire. It's something that happens almost every day in Shreveport.
We have had so many press conferences until I am just absolutely sick and tired of being sick and tired. What message do we send? What message do I give the hurting mother or father? 7 and 9-year-olds shot, can't even sleep in their bed. Are you kidding me?
Deadly shootings at a record pace.
If we as a community think that it's okay to be firing off guns in the proximity of our children, we have a serious, serious problem.
Now some city leaders say they have a new plan.
We do a lot of talking, and we need to see more action, and that's what I'm directing my statements toward today.
To get more people involved.
We need your help to address the violence and find solutions that will make a difference in ensuring our city is safe to work and live.
To keep you and your family safe.
Broadcasting live, KSLA News 12 starts now.
We heard a very strong message today, a crystal clear message from some of our first responders and city leaders. Gun violence across the city of Shreveport has to stop. Shots fired, loved ones lost for many families. That right there is a daily occurrence. No one should be forced to live like that. But that's exactly what many across Shreveport were forced to do over the last 24 hours. Take a look at this map. All the locations, 5 Shreveport shootings during that time. 3 people were killed. Others facing life-threatening injuries. 2 of those shot young little girls. The most recent shooting just a few hours ago in the Stoner Hill neighborhood, 300 block of Herndon. That's where officers found, look at that, numerous shell casings littered across the roadway there. The victim rushed to the local hospital with life-threatening injuries. No suspect information released. And as much as we've reported on how 2020 broke certain records for homicides, the highest number we've had since 1993. Take a look at this. We are far ahead of last year's homicide pace. After yesterday's 3 killings, we are at 32 on the year. Compare that to the end of May last year when we hit 20. So what's troubling now, we're already 12 homicides in 3 whole weeks ahead of last year's pace. So this problem is real. Feels like it's only getting worse. And that was the message from first responders who we heard from today. They, along with city leaders, pleading to the public for help during a special news conference. Kinley Hargett live in downtown. Kinley, their pleas were personal and very emotional at times.
It was a very emotional day as many city leaders and community leaders all spoke about the goal of ending this violence that's plaguing our communities. And just to think, 32 homicides so far this year. That's 32 families that are affected, and now many different city leaders are wondering, what can we do now to solve this problem? Now, many issues that were discussed during it, we're talking about getting the community involved and seeing what they can do. And city leaders are asking, if you see something, say something, do more. And we spoke to Shreveport Mayor Adrian Perkins and Police Chief Ben Raymond about the violence.
We put in a lot of policies. We're making a lot of investments. You were, the Media Corps just traveled down to New Orleans and Baton Rouge with us, where we're going to implement a real-time crime center. We did a 6% pay raise for our police officers and our fire and our first responders so that we can retain them here so they don't have to work overtime. So the work is definitely being done behind the scenes, but we can't do it alone.
We're dealing with the criminal element that is literally willing to kill and die. Now, that doesn't mean that officers have to use that level of force in every instance. Obviously, we do not. But when officers do have to use force, understand that it's not going to look pretty. Support your officers, allow the processes that are in place to investigate to take their course, and let's don't come down on police officers as a whole. And I think
she says she lives in fear.
Now, this is only the beginning of ideas the city is working on to improve and stop this violence that was going on. Coming up May 18th at the Skybox at Independence Stadium, they're going to be asking the public to come out. If you have any ideas, anything that can help end this violence, just come out to Independence Stadium at 10 a.m. on May 18th. There, they're asking you to come, speak your mind, tell us what you know, tell us what you want to change to end this violence. Reporting live here in Shreveport, Kinley Hargett, KSLA News 12.
And this is a true open invitation. How many of us jump on the keyboard, social media, and say, well, what if we do this? This is a physical chance to show up. It's kind of a put up or shut up moment. Come May 18th, 10 o'clock to be there and to tell them exactly what you think needs to be done, and maybe they would put it into place. We'll see. Kinley, we'll talk to you again at 6 o'clock. As you heard, gun violence issues in Shreveport, they affect all of us. Parents who worry about their kids at night, city council members who Hear from hurting families in their districts and, of course, police and firefighters who see the death and despair firsthand.
This is something that affects our firefighters as well as our police officers, but we're going to every last one of those calls. The comments, people are reaching out, firemen are reaching out on Facebook, just trying to figure out how to navigate through this. They're taking all of these stressors home, and it's affecting their families. When kids are deceased, when elderly are deceased, and anyone in between, but especially that lower end of their population and the higher end age of their population, when they get affected, it really hurts us.
We have had so many press conferences until I am just absolutely sick and tired of being sick and tired. What message do we send? What message do I give the hurting mother or father? 7 and 9-year-olds shot, can't even sleep in their bed. My babies can't play t-ball? Are you kidding me? What more do you want me to say? How do I build a strong community? Because this is not just a black problem. We recognize that this happens in the African American community, but this is our city.
Councilwoman Taylor, they're talking about those two little girls shot last night on Linwood Avenue, just in their home with somebody drove by and opened up fire. Destiny Patterson live for us tonight. There are a lot of families directly impacted by this gun violence, particularly family members. This has to hit hard to them when they see this surging gun violence only getting worse.
That's right, Doug. As the homicide numbers continue to climb, people are scared. People are worried to go out in their communities, especially the people who are impacted directly by this gun violence. And it's for that reason that I'm choosing not to share the identity of a mother that I spoke to today. And her son was killed by gun violence in Shreveport, and she says that she's living in fear.
At this point, I'm afraid to go anywhere. I'm afraid to go to gatherings because it's so much killing out there to where I can be sitting out enjoying my family, and then the next thing you know, gunfires, and then you got to run, and you got to hope the kids get safe, and you risking your life because, of course, if your grandbaby out there, you're going to die for your grandbaby, and you're going to grab that grandbaby, and then you just get tied up. You get tied up in the middle of it.
This is something that happens on a regular. And it shouldn't happen like that. And that this particular area or the store that it happened in, it happens on a regular. And that should not be. So I just hope that, the police will do a little bit better job in just kind of like making sure that area is a little bit more safe. Making sure that people who live within the community are not fearful to go to the store at a certain time.
These relatives say that this is important to recognize that these gun victims are not only that, they're real people, and it affects their families as well. And I'll have that story coming up at 6. Reporting live in Shreveport, I'm Destiny Patterson, KSLA News 12.
There were a lot of people at that news conference today, even beyond the city leaders and first responders. Our legal expert, J. Antonio Florence, a local attorney here, was at today's news conference where they announced this ongoing plan to stop the gun violence. He took it all in from speaker to speaker, every single word of it. We're joined now by Jay, and today's news conference carried a very different tone, I would think. First responders opening up about how this is eating away at them. What did you make of what you heard today?
I'm going to be honest with you, Doug. Ben Raymond said it perfectly. He said, we do a lot of talking. And today's conference/meeting seemed to be more of the same. We're saying that there was a plan laid out, but no plan was laid out. It seemed to be a meeting to set up another meeting, which I assume at that meeting will be to set up another meeting. No specifics, no details. Everyone was speaking on the obvious. We have a problem in Shreveport. Everyone was telling stories that are common. We can tell those same stories tomorrow and they will not be new. Again, it was a lot of talking, as Ben Raymond said. We do a lot of talking, and that's what I heard today, a lot of talking. No solid solutions, no actionable solutions anyway.
Well, let me ask you this. Say we were weeks down the road, this coalition's been put together. Let's say you're on that coalition. What is step one? What is your idea coming out of the gates to address this?
Step one, as one of the speakers said, we know certain areas that are problems. For example, the gas station on Hearn right off of I-20. That's a problem. People are afraid to go get gas there. Officers, show up. Tell the community, hey, we're going to be there at 6 o'clock. We want 10 community leaders to show up at 10 o'clock. And we'll just walk the neighborhoods until the next shift comes in. Juella, issues in Moortown, issues in specific areas. Have the community go knock on doors. I spoke to several officers today, line officers, who would love to go and just knock on doors and say, hey, ma'am, can I sit with you? Can I walk your neighborhood with you so you can trust me, versus me just yelling at you, screaming at you, saying, because I'm a cop, you should trust me. Those are the steps that we should take. If we want the community to be part of the solution, you got to talk to the community. You got to have the community be involved.
Let me ask you this, there's a balance to this, because there's been other times where we've heard, I've been here a dozen years now, back in Shreveport, where some folks in some neighborhoods complain, hey, they're targeting us. They're in our neighborhood because they're trying to catch us. How do you balance that? Because you're saying, hey, they should just go into these certain areas that are hot spots. Even the mayor has called some areas hot spots. But right. How do you balance that against those feeling like they're only here because they're trying to catch us doing something? We don't want Big Brother watching that much.
And listen to what I said. Officers show up in the community with those people who live in the community. Knock on Miss Smith's door and say, hey, Miss Smith, Mr. Jones, walk your neighborhood with me. That way, that phrase, they, won't be used. You can't say they are targeting us. No, it's people who live in the community who will walk in their community with officers. That would be the solution.
All right, J. Antonio Florence, I like it. You know, do that walk at 3 o'clock in the afternoon so they won't mind you being there at 7 o'clock at night, because you've established that relationship with them that you get it. That's when it's happening, and that's when we want to be there to help.
Exactly.
All right, Jay, thank you very much, sir. We will continue to tap his resources anytime we address this subject. A reminder, we've created an easy way for you to find the most up-to-date information anytime we're dealing with this ongoing crime issue, violent crime issue. Download our KSLA app, go to the crime section. That's where you'll find updates to several crime-related stories and video clips of our most recent newscasts.